Hello everyone, this is Pooja Sharma and I'm back with class 11 geography and third series. So today we will be learning about the climate of India and I have divided this chapter into two parts. So part 1 will deal with all the basic components of climate, and in the part 2 we will read about the four types of seasons in details. So let's begin. So the variations in weather conditions, they occur from season to season, and these changes occur because of the changes in the elements of weather. So the temperature, pressure, wind energy, wind direction, velocity, humidity and precipitation. So velocity is nothing but the speed, humidity is the moisture content, and precipitation is the snowfall or rainfall. So weather is the momentary state of atmosphere and climate refers to the average of the weather conditions over a long period of time. So there is a difference in the weather and climate. Weather is short term and climate is long term. Weather can change within few minutes or days and hours, whereas climate, it takes a lot of time, maybe years. The monsoon of a climate, it is associated with the seasonal reversals in the direction of winds, and India has a hot monsoonal climate which is prevalent climate and very common in South and Southeast Asia. Next we have the unity and diversity in the monsoon climate. So this monsoon regime, it mainly emphasizes that the unity of India with the rest of the Southeast Asian region, how everything is interrelated and interconnected. But even though this unity exists, we cannot ignore that India has its own regional variations. So this differentiates the weather and the climate of the different regions of India. For example, the climate of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, it will not be the same as that of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar in north. But at the end of the day, all of these have a monsoon type of a climate. So you can see in this diagram, briefly they are telling us. So the climate of India, it has many regional variations which are expressed in the pattern of winds, the temperature, rainfall, rhythm of seasons and the degree of wetness and dryness. So these regional diversities, they may be described as subtypes of monsoon climates. Regional variations in temperature, which is the wind and rainfall. So as you can see in the picture, when the mercury dips, when the mercury touches to 55 degrees Celsius in western Rajasthan, it drops down to as low as minus 45 degrees Celsius in Leh in winter. So this is. Then we have Chura, which is situated in Rajasthan. It records up to 50 degrees Celsius or more on a June day, whereas the mercury hardly touches 19 degrees Celsius in Tawang, which is situated in Arunachal Pradesh, on the same day. And on a December night, the temperature in Dras, which is situated in Jammu and Kashmir, it may drop up to minus 45 degrees Celsius, whereas in Thiruvananthapuram or Chennai, the same night records 20 degrees Celsius to 22 degrees Celsius. So this is Dras over here. You can see ice formations, and this is Thiruvananthapuram. Then this confirms the above factors. They confirm that there is seasonal variations and in temperatures from place to place and region to region. Similarly, in Kerala and Andaman Islands, the difference between the day and night temperature, it is hardly around 7 to 8 degrees Celsius. But in Thar Desert, what happens, if it is having a very very hot day, it will end up having a very very hot cold night. Then we have the regional variations in precipitation. So we know that snowfall occurs in Himalayas throughout the year, but it only rains over the rest of the country. So these variations, they are not noticeable in the type of precipitation also, whether it is snowfall or rainfall. It shows variations even in the amount. low or high. So here Cherrapunji and Mizoram, which are situated in the Khasi hills of Meghalaya, they receive rainfall over 1080 centimeters in a year. But whereas Jaisalmer in Rajasthan, it gets more than 9, rarely gets more than 9 centimeters of rainfall during the same period. So you can see the huge difference between both of them. Tura, which is situated in the Garo hills of Meghalaya, it receives rainfall in a single day, which Jaisalmer won't receive in 10 years also. So the annual precipitation is less than 10 centimeters in northwest Himalayas and the western deserts. It exceeds 400 centimeters in this region, Meghalaya. So the Ganga Delta and the coastal plains of Orissa are hit by strong rain-bearing storms every 3rd or 5th of July. But what happens is in Coromandel coast at that same period, which is just 1,000 kilometers to the south, it generally goes dry during these months. So most parts of the country, it gets rainfall during the June-September month, but the coastal areas of Tamil Nadu, it rains in the beginning of the winter season only. So even so many differences and variations are there, the climate of India is still monsoonal, and it is in rhythm and character. So factors determining the climate of India. So a number of factors control the climate of India, but it can be divided into two groups. So one is factors related to location and relief. The other one is factors related to air pressure and winds. So as you can see over here in the diagram, warm air, it rises upwards and cold air descends downwards. Over here you can see the warm air, it will tend to rise upwards because it will become lighter. Cold air, it becomes heavy and it descends downwards. So the first factor is latitude. So the Tropic of Cancer, it passes through the central part of India in the east to west direction. Over here you can see the Tropic of India, it passes from east to west direction. And because of this, the northern part of India, it lies in the subtropical and the subtropical zone, and the southern part of India, it lies in the tropical zone. So this tropical zone, which is near to the equator, it has high temperatures throughout the year with small daily annual range, whereas this northern part of India, it is away from the equator, so it experiences extreme climate with high daily and annual range of temperature. Next we have the Himalayan mountains. So the lofty Himalayas in the north, it acts as an effective climatic divide, like a wall. So the towering mountain chain provides an invincible shield to protect the subcontinent from the cold northern winds. So what happens is there will be these cold winds which will be coming from the Arctic Circle, but the Himalayas, they act like a strong wall and they block these winds. So these cold and chilly winds which originate near the Arctic Circle, they blow across the central and eastern Asia. So Himalayas also have a very good advantage. What they do is they trap the monsoon winds, forcing them to shed their moisture within the subcontinent only. So it is good for us only in many ways. It is good for India in many ways. Next is the distribution of land and water. So as we all know that India is flanked by water on all the three sides by the Indian Ocean, and it also has the mountain ranges which acts like a long wall in the north. So as compared to the land mass, water heats up or cools slowly because it is a very large amount or large water body, and the large land mass compared to the water is very small. So this differential heating of land and sea, it creates different air pressure zones in different seasons in and around the Indian subcontinent. So this causes reversal in the direction of the monsoon winds. Next is the distance from the sea. So India has a very long coastline, and the large coastal areas have a very equitable climate. So areas in the interior of India are far away from the moderating influence of the sea. Such areas have extreme type of climate. So for example, Mumbai and the Konkan coast, they are very nearby to the coast, and they have very moderate climate of the uh, sea, ocean I mean. So then what happens is, whereas the states which are located in the interiors, or places like Amritsar, New Delhi and Kanpur, they are away from the sea, so they have this extreme type of climates. Then we have the altitude. So temperature decreases with height. So due to thin air, places in the mountains are cooler than the places on the plains. So when air rises up, it becomes cold. The temperature becomes cold, and on the bottom layer, near the foots of the hills or the mountains, it will not be so much cold how much cold it is on the tip. That's why mainly glaciers are found on the tip of the mountains. So what happens is, because of this altitude factor, even though Agra and Darjeeling, they are on the same latitude, still the temperature in January in Agra, it is 16 degrees Celsius, but in Darjeeling it is 4 degrees Celsius, 4 times lesser than what is in Agra. So the relief. So relief is a physiography which affects the temperature, air pressure, direction and speed of the wind, and the distribution of rainfall. Now what happens is, the windward side of the Western Ghats, which is this side, and Assam, it receives high rainfall during June and September. But whereas the southern plateau, it remains dry due to its leeward side. This is called the leeward side, the inner side of the Western Ghats. So this windward side will receive rainfall, ample rainfall, but this leeward side, it will get very scanty rainfall or no rainfall at all. Then we have factors which are related to air pressure and wind. So if one wants to understand the differences in the local climates of India, we need to understand these three factors, which is the distribution of air pressure and winds on the surface of Earth, the upper air circulation, which is caused by many global weather factors, and the inflow of different air masses and jet streams. Also, the inflow of western cyclones, which are generally known as disturbances. So during the winter season and the tropical depressions, the southwest monsoon period into India, it creates weather conditions which is favorable for rainfall. So this can be understood with the example of the winter and the summer season. Winter season. So in winter season, the surface pressure and winds, what happens is, it is influenced by the distribution of pressure in Central and Western Asia, and a high pressure is created, a high pressure center, it is created in the region lying to the north of the Himalayas. This center of high pressure, it gives rise to flow of air at the lower level from north towards the Indian subcontinent, south of the mountain range. So it starts flowing southwards from the Himalayas. So the surface winds blowing out of the high pressure center over the Central Asia, it reaches India in the form of dry continental air mass. These continental winds, they come in contact with the trade winds over the northwestern India, and this position, it is not that much stable, the contact zone between both of them. So this shifts its position as far as east in the middle Ganga valley, and it results in the whole of the northwestern and northern India up to the middle of Ganga valley, it comes under the influence of dry northwestern winds. Next we have the jet streams and upper air circulations in winter season. So the pattern of air circulation, it is witnessed only at the lower level of the atmosphere near the surface of the earth. Higher up in the lower troposphere, about 3 kilometers above the surface of the earth, there is a completely different air circulation pattern. But these two are not connected and they are not responsible for each other's circulation or wind moving directions. So all of the Western and Central Central Asia, it remains under the influence of the westerly winds along the altitude of 9 to 13 kilometers from west to east. So these winds blow across the Asian continent at the latitudes which are to the north of the Himalayas, and these are roughly parallel to the Tibetan highlands. They are known as jet streams. So these Tibetan highlands, they act as a barrier in the path of these jet streams. So Tibetan highlands, they act as a barrier for jet streams, and the Himalayan mountains, they act as a barrier to the cold winds which are coming from the Arctic Circle. So as a result, these jet streams, they get bifurcated or divided. So the one branch of it flows towards the north of the Tibetan highlands, and the southern branch will blow towards the eastward direction south of the Himalayas. So its mean position is 25 degrees north in February at 200 to 300 MB, and it is believed that the southern branch, it influences the winter weather in India. Next we have the western cyclonic disturbances and tropical cyclones in winter season. So these western cyclonic disturbances, they enter India through the west and the northwest during the winter months. So they originate in the Mediterranean Sea, as you can see in the picture. It's originating from here, and it is brought into India by the westerly jet stream. So it when there is an increase in the night temperatures, it generally indicates that there is an advance and arrival of these cyclone disturbances. So the tropical cyclones, they usually originate in the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean. And these tropical cyclones, they have a very high wind velocity and heavy rainfall which hit Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Orissa coast. So because of this high wind velocity, they can cause a lot of harm and they are very destructive in nature. Also one more thing, please connect your current affairs with geography about the various cyclones that took place in India. So the Intertropical Convergence Zone, what is the ITCZ? So the ITCZ, it is a low pressure zone which is located near the equator where the trade winds will converge. So it is a zone where the air tends to ascend. So in July, the ITCZ, it is situated around 20 degrees north and 25 degrees north latitude. So in between over here. But in case of India, over the Ganga plains. And this is sometimes called as the monsoon trough. So this monsoon trough, it encourages the development of thermal low over the north and northwest India because it is right above the Ganga plains. And due to the shift in the ITCZ, the trade winds of the southern hemisphere, they cross the equator between 40 to 60 degrees east latitudes, and then they start blowing from the southwest to the northeast due to the Coriolis effect. So this becomes the southwest monsoon, which blows from southwest to northeast. And in winter, the ITCZ moves southwards. So the reversal of winds from northeast to south and southwest takes place. So from northeast, it comes southwest like this. So then this is called as the northeast monsoons. Next we have the summer season mechanism. So in summer season, the surface pressure and winds, it affects most probably at the lower levels as well as the upper levels. So when the summer sets in and the sun shifts northwards, the wind circulation over the subcontinent, it undergoes a complete reversal, and by the middle of July, the low pressure belt nearer to the ITCZ, it shifts upwards, northwards, which is roughly parallel to the Himalayas between the 20 degrees and the 25 degrees north. Then by this time, the westerly jet stream, it will withdraw itself from the Indian region, and many meteorologists have found out that the interrelationship between the northwest shift of this ITCZ and the withdrawal of the westerly jet streams over the North Indian plateau, it is generally due to the cause and effect relationship between the two of them. So the ITCZ, it is a zone of low pressure, so it attracts the inflow of winds. So whenever there is low pressure in an area, the wind will attract the high pressure winds towards itself. So this maritime tropical air mass from the southern hemisphere, it crosses the equator and rushes towards the low pressure area in southwesterly direction. So this is the moist air current, which is popularly known as the southwest monsoon. Next we have the jet streams and the upper circulations of the summer season. So the pattern and pressure of these winds, it is formed at the level of the troposphere. So an easterly jet stream flows over the southern part of the peninsula in June, and it has a speed of 90 kilometers per hour. So in August it is confined to 15 degrees north latitudes, and in September up to 22 degree north latitude, but whatever happens, these do not extend over 30 degrees north latitudes. So the easterly jet streams and the tropical cyclones in the summer season. So it steers the tropical depressions in India, and these in turn play a very specific role in the distribution of monsoon rainfall over the Indian subcontinent. So the tracks of these depressions are mainly areas of highest rainfall in India. The frequency at which these depressions visit India, it all helps in determining the rainfall pattern during the southwest monsoon period, because these depressions direction and the intensity with which they flows, it helps one predict the rainfall pattern during southwest monsoon period. The nature of Indian monsoon. So the monsoon is a very familiar concept in climatic phenomenon, but there is no single theory about it. But recently there was a breakthrough when it was studied at a global level rather than a regional level, because all the global phenomena which takes place, it somehow influences each region's climatic conditions. For example, the El Nino, then the Coriolis effect, all these are interconnected. So the systematic studies of the causes of rainfall in the South Asian region, it helps us understand the salient features and the causes of the monsoon which takes place in India. So some of the important aspects are the onset of monsoon, the rain-bearing winds, which come through the tropical cyclones, and the relationship between their frequency, the number of times they occur, and the distribution of the monsoon rainfall, and third is the break in monsoon. So the onset of monsoon. So towards the end of the 19th century, it was believed that the differential heating of the land and sea, which takes place during the summer months, it is the reason why the monsoon winds will drift towards the subcontinent, because when this differential heating takes place, the air pressure of land and sea, it will be low and high. So there will be continuous interchanges of winds from high pressure to low pressure and low pressure to high pressure. So during the April and May, when the sun shines vertically over the Tropic of Cancer, the large landmass in north of Indian Ocean, it gets heated, and this causes the formation of an intense low pressure in the northwestern part of the subcontinent. Then, since the pressure in the Indian Ocean in the south of the landmass is high, as the water gets heated slowly, so the low pressure cell attracts the southeast trade winds across the equator. Then what happens? These conditions will help in the northward shift in the position of the ITCZ. The southwest monsoon, it is the continuation of the southeast trades which is deflected in the Indian subcontinent after crossing the equator. So these winds, they cross the equator between 40 degrees to 60 degrees east longitudes. Then we have the shift in the position of ITC, which is related to the phenomenon of the withdrawal of the westerly jet stream from its position over north of the Indian plains and south of the Himalayas. So the easterly jet stream, it sets in along the 15 degrees N latitude, and only after the western jet stream has completely withdrawn itself from the region, this easterly jet stream is held responsible for the burst of the monsoon in India. So the entry of monsoon in India is by the 1st of June over the Kerala coast and moves swiftly to reach Mumbai and Kolkata between 10th and 13th June. And by mid-July, the entire continent will be engulfed by the southwest monsoon. So the El Nino and the Indian monsoon. So what is El Nino? El Nino is a complex weather system that appears once in 3 to 7 years. So this brings along with it droughts, floods and other weather extremes to different parts of the world. So this is a global phenomenon. So the system involves oceanic and atmospheric phenomenon with the appearance of warm currents off the coast of Peru in eastern Pacific and affects the weather in many places. So this El Nino is nothing but the extension of the warm equatorial current, which gets replaced temporarily by the cold Peruvian current or the Humboldt current. So this current increases the temperature of water on the Peruvian coast by 10 degrees Celsius, and it results in the distortion of equatorial atmospheric circulation, the irregularities in the evaporation of seawater, and also it reduces the amount of planktons, which further reduces the number of fish in the sea, as it is the food for the fishes. So the word El Nino, it means Christ child because it mainly appears during Christmas in December, and December is a summer month in Peru because it is located in the southern hemisphere. Also, El Nino is used in India for forecasting long range monsoon rainfall. It is believed that in 1990 and 1990-91 there was a wild El Nino event, and because of this it delayed the onset of the southwest monsoon over many parts of the country from 5 to 12 days. Next we have the rain bearing systems and rainfall distribution. So there are two types of rain bearing system. One originates in the Bay of Bengal, which causes rainfall over the plains of North India, and one more is the Arabian Sea current. It causes rainfall in the west coast of India. So much of the rainfall along the Western Ghats, it is orographic because the moist air is obstructed because of the windward side, and it is forced to rise along the Ghats because of the height and elevation. So the intensity of rainfall over the west coast of India, it is related to two main factors, that is the offshore meteorological conditions and the position of the equatorial jet stream, which is along the eastern coast of Africa, because eastern coast of Africa is nearby to the western coast of India in terms of the travel of wind. So the frequency of the tropical depressions which originate in the Bay of Bengal, it varies from year to year, and their paths over India, it is determined by the position where the ITC is located at that particular time. So which is, that it is generally termed as monsoon trough. And when the axis of the monsoon oscillates, then these fluctuations in the track and directions of these depressions, and it also causes differences in the intensity and amount of rainfall, which keep varying from year to year. So the rain comes in spells, displaying a declining trend from west to east over the west coast and from the southeast towards the northwest coast of the Indian plain and the northern part of peninsula. So breaks in the monsoon and the rhythm of season. So during the southwest monsoon period, these rains will be absent for a few days. So if the rain does not occur for one or more weeks, then it is known as break in monsoon. So these dry spells, which we read in the last point in the previous slides, they are very common during the rainy season. And these breaks in different regions, it happens due to these reasons, which is the position of the ITCZ in northern India. So in northern India, the rains will likely fail because if the rain bearing storms are not very frequent along the ITCZ, and Over the west coast, the dry spells are associated with when the winds will blow parallel to the coast and not over the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. So the climatic conditions of India, it can be described as a annual cycle of seasons. Then the meteorologists recognize the following 4 seasons, which is the cold weather season, the hot weather season, the southwest monsoon season, and the retreating monsoon season. We will read about these 4 seasons in detail in the next video, which will be the part 2 of this chapter. So I hope that you found this video helpful, and for your UPSC test series, if you are interested, please WhatsApp Vaisha IAS on this number and you will get your enrollment details. I will be back with part 2 of chapter 4. Till then, all the best and thank you.